You know, my grandpa didn't hate nobody as far as I can remember. One thing my grandpa hated was somebody with no common sense. Oh, he hated that. I remember him getting pretty mean. I think it was my Uncle Junior. This is in the 70s. Got a master's degree in mathematics, and me and Dad went over there on the Sunday, maybe on a Saturday, but anyway. I remember as we walking on the back porch, we heard someone yelling. And when Dad opened the door, it was my grandpa. I think my Uncle Junior was there. I'm pretty sure him and Betty. I'm pretty sure it's what it was. But I remember very vividly my grandpa cussing like crazy. And I never forget what he said. It's fine if you don't lose your, cuss carry on, blankety blank common sense. And he hated anybody, especially if you have a college education, no common sense. Oh, he hated that. I mean, he turned, I hate to say the word devil, he turned into the devil. And as I get older, I see his point. Somebody just come to I'm here at the library, as you can see. Somebody come here to the book drop, pull it up, probably misjudged how close they was to, and they was too lazy to open the car door to drop the book in, all right? So they tried to reach it and it dropped onto that pavement, which the book gets dirty. And that's no common sense to me. Open your door, then drop it. I mean, you could. If I was them, you could tell you weren't going to make it into the book deposit. You're too far away. They had enough common sense to open the door and drop it in. That's what my grandpa was talking about. But I don't think, other than that, I don't think my grandpa hated anybody, as far as I can remember. And for his birthday one time, and probably 1975. And by the way, I'll recap here. He lived on a dead-end road in Verona, Kentucky, Gallatin County. Perfect place for mischief, to be honest about it. The dead-end road was they was going to build a bridge over Interstate 71, because Interstate 71's in his backyard. And there was a hill there, and there was a bridge. Or there was a gate. They never did build the bridge. I guess maybe the state voted or decided not to do it. But instead of the bridge, they put a gate up. It's been like that since I was a kid. But he lives in a perfect place for any mischief. He really does. So his daughters, Mary, Sarah, and Emma, went together and bought him a 5-watt CB walkie-talkie. If you go down in his backyard, about halfway, you can see the cars on Interstate 71. He's that close to 71. Well, they put the batteries in for him. I think they bought the Radio Shack. He pulls up the telescopic antenna. They said, well, Dad's going to love this. First thing he hears is the truck drivers. He starts cussing them out. But he's enjoying it. They come back at him, threatening to kill him, what he's doing. If we find you. My grandpa kept, and they were dying because they knew it was a federal offense back in those days to cuss on the CB radio, and it was. And they was going to shock, and my grandpa just cussing out the truck drivers. He was enjoying it. He was grinning from ear to ear. They said he called them everything. Oh, yeah, he did. He didn't hate them. He just having fun with them. He had an orphan life, and so he was raised hard, and it was time for him to have a little fun. He call him everything in the book. And of course, they'd never find him because he lives on a dead-end road. But he just kept. They finally, I think, took the radio back and got their money. Got him something else for his birthday. But they'd like to die from. They didn't think he was going to do that. They'd like to die from shock when he started cussing them out over the CB walkie-talkie. He was right beside them, and they didn't know where he was at. They thought he was in a car on the side of the interstate, and they kept threatening, "We're going to find you," basically do him in. And my grandpa kept just cussing them out and just laughing about it. He was having fun. But that dead end, I tell you what, talking about doing someone in. When we as kids, we used to ride a bike. Me and my cousins down that dead-end road where my grandpa lived on, and it's a long hill down, and it goes level. One time I was riding, I think it was April or Jerre's bike. Rode it for 2 or 3 hours, and it was fun to fly down that hill. And next thing I know, my Uncle Roger's wanted to talk to me. It wasn't about the bike, it was something else. And you know those long handlebars on a girl's bike, the banana seat? As my Uncle Roger was talking to me, I guess out of habit I was putting force on them handlebars. Them handlebars broke clean off. He got looking. You know, I was too young to understand physics, or, you know, look at this metal, this part, you know. I get just too young. Anyway, I remember him saying, see, yes, and the silver, everything was rusted. That bracket was rusted clean through. And the size of a green pea. That's all the bright silver metal there was. In other words, all that was holding that handlebar on that bike was a piece of metal, silver, about the size of a green pea. The rest of the area was rusted through. And here we've been riding that for hours and hours, going down that fast hill. If that would have came off as I rode it, or the other ones rode it, we'd probably have been seriously injured. And I remember we used to get some high rate of speed going down that hill. Luck of the draw, he just held on. And when he was talking to me, I happened to wiggle the handlebar and the whole thing came off. And he died from shock, you know. Oh my God. And very little metal was holding it together. I never will forget that. I mean, I'm estimating the size of a green pea. It may have been smaller than that. But the whole bracket was rusted clean through. Just about for a little small silver spot. That's the only piece of metal was holding that handlebar on that bike. And us cousins, me and the other cousin, just flying down that hill. And then one time, my grandpa had a fender bender. I remember him telling this. It was winter time, but I don't think there was much snow on the ground. And the lady hit him, I believe. It was the lady's fault. So my grandpa gets out of the car, and I guess, you know, see if she had insurance. You know, of course, back then you didn't have to have insurance. But as they walk to each other, I guess she's handing him her insurance papers. Hey, I'm sorry I hit you. It's my fault. My insurance company will pay. As he gets ready to grab her insurance papers, they both hit an eye spot. And they go down. Well, my grandpa was a very fast thinker. He said, "Now going down that fast on ice, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to maybe break a bone." In that split-second decision, the only thing he knew to keep both of them hurting herself from going down like a cheerleader going down on ice was to grab onto her. Perfect stranger. I can't tell it the way because I got to keep his family, but he grabs her. Just to, you know, he's trying to brace them both so they won't fall and injure themselves. He said, and she grabbed him. Perfect strangers. And he said they locked. They looked like two cheerleaders locked into position on that ice. Now, I think an incident happened in Florence, Kentucky. I remember my grandpa telling us about that. Oh my God. And then he got stopped by the Cincinnati policeman. Got off work at Ford's. He'd been drinking. Not on the job, of course, union, but as he got out off the clock, he got him a beer. He's in his truck. And downtown, in the business section of Cincinnati, if you've been down there, there's 4 or 5 tracks. It's all business section. So they got the massive train tracks going through there. He looks behind his rear view mirror. A Cincinnati policeman's got his blue lights on. Grandpa says, "I'll fix him." And my grandpa had a thermos of milk that he hadn't touched yet. So he takes his beer and he does it slowly but quickly. You get my point? So that the officer won't catch on. He puts his beer under the seat. I remember him telling us. He takes that thermos. He's still got a few tracks to go over. He's taking his time going over a track because the cop won't pull him over until he's past the tracks. And so he takes that lid off that thermos, pours that thermos of milk, fills that thermos cup full, sips it halfway down to get that alcohol breath off his, the alcohol off his breath. Puts that lid back on the thermos. He pulls over. Cincinnati cop gets out of the car. And he said, "Good evening, sir." He said, "How many beers have you had tonight?" My grandpa says, He cussed. He said, when does a cow give beer? And he said that cop apologized to him for 10 minutes. And now, of course, you know, my grandpa was cussing. He said, when in the H-E-double-L does he mean like to the officer? You know, what he was doing, he was really trying to build it up. Trucks. He was really trying to build it up. So he's basically cussing at the officer. He says, cussing, carrying on. He said, when does a cow give? But he was cussing and carrying on. He had to make it look good. You know, risk arrest because you're using foul language. But he, you know, hey, as far as he knew, the cop, you know, the cop made a mistake. But he had to make it look good, so he started cussing, carrying on pretty heavy. He said, when does, you know, a cow give beer? In other words, why you pull me over for all this baloney? And he built it up, and boy, that cop sat there and apologized, kept apologizing for 10 minutes. The cop made a mistake, you know. And my grandpa had to put the act on to sell it to him, and the cop bought it. 10 minutes apologizing.